Hey, welcome Podrishians to the Salt&Light podcast. We look forward to, glorifying Jesus.
That's right.
To welcome you to our community and to entertain you beyond all of your hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
So you can see who we have here today. We have, of course, the Jake Tallman, who everybody's aware of. But today, sitting in for Graham is Mike Wight. Say hi.
Hello.
So we're actually on camera, Michael. You're going to be able to see yourself. You're going to see yourself on YouTube, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mom, I hope you're watching.
That's
right.
So you can send it to them. So Michael's our new outreach resident.
Yeah, I've been blessed with the opportunity to start serving at East Point Christian Church. I'm excited to see what God's going to do.
Yeah. So are we. Because, if he doesn't work out,
We'll post the position. Where you go.
What's going to happen? I don't know what happens.
Starting off on a good foot.
So you were on vacation.
I was on vacation.
I was curious to ask you what you did in the Berkshires.
In the
It's been a while since.
First of all, I like to say the Berkshires.
The Berkshires.
Yeah, I like to say.
Yeah.
Berkshires. But no, that was good. We went out there on it was about a 4.5-hour drive for us.
Yep.
To the campground. We have a 22-foot trailer.
Nice.
That we take along with us. We did some hiking. We did some kayaking, and then we went and visited Tanglewood.
Tanglewood.
You familiar with that?
I'm not.
Tanglewood?
Not at all.
Not at all?
No.
So I remember it from my Prairie Home Companion days, if you ever listened to that at all.
No.
You never listened?
Missed me too.
You guys are just not cultured at all. Shoot, now I can't even remember the guy's name that did Prairie Home Companion. Anyhow, he got kind of Me Too'd out, and so that kind of ended. Garrison Keillor. Heard of him?
No.
No.
Nope. Swing and a miss.
Like Wobegon? No?
No.
No. He was so it was actually kind of out of Minnesota, and it was a kind of variety show. They'd have a lot of bluegrass. They'd have stories that he would tell. Mm-hmm. It was popular, I don't know, for at least 30 years plus, something like that. Big PBS thing.
30 years ago?
Yeah. I probably ended about, I don't know, let's say 6 years ago, maybe, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so Lake Wobegon was actually this mythical town in central Minnesota.
Okay.
Probably about an hour from where I lived.
Yep.
If it was real, but being
You don't even know if it was
mythical,
real.
It wasn't there.
Oh,
No,
wow.
I know exactly where it is. Actually, it was just bordered on the town I went to college in. If it was real, it would have bordered on that.
Okay.
And
I
so,
didn't realize this was a college story.
Yeah. So and it had different families, a lot of Swedish, Scandinavian families, and different churches, and just little homey stories that would go on.
Okay.
there.
But it
Yeah.
didn't exist.
It didn't
The
exist.
town was not in
Did not
existence
exist.
when you were growing up.
No, it never existed.
Oh,
But
it never. I'm really
The
confused.
stories on Prairie Home Companion
okay, I see.
included Lake Wobegon.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so that was kind of the mythical
Well, you'd
part
think
of it.
that would be an easy thing to prove or disprove.
But so the reason I bring that up, so typically it was kind of like radio theater they would have, just like the olden days. So they did it in a couple of different places out of Minneapolis. But every once in a while, they would do it from Tanglewood in western Massachusetts. And so it was like, I don't know how many acres the thing was, but it's quite a vast, artsy area. Mm-hmm. Really nice views, kind of some mountains, and you can just walk in there. You could have a picnic on the grounds and just all sorts of things. So that was
Wow.
that was my Tanglewood thing.
Nice.
Just west of Stockton,
Oh, okay.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Which is not much of a town.
No.
Yeah,
No.
you been?
I have, yeah. So I was telling you before you left. So I went to school in Vermont, but I went in Bennington, Vermont, which is like the most southern tip of Vermont.
Yeah.
And so we would do residencies and things in Massachusetts and in New York.
Yeah.
But Williams College was a school that we played a lot in sports, and they're like a very like ritzy. It was a really expensive school, and their grounds are like really like. It seems like Ivy League. It's not quite, I don't think, to the level of Ivy League, but the Berkshires were really close by, so we would go over there a lot. But it's been a lot of years since I've gone there, but I wasn't sure if you were going to hit the like leaf peeper traffic, and you were just before it. I think because
You get
that area gets crazy.
I imagine that would have been great, and it was getting better. Just the colors as we left. So we went up Mount Greylock, which is the highest mountain in Massachusetts. 3,490 feet.
Whoa!
So we hiked that, but we didn't start at foot zero. There's the trailhead was a little ways up, but that was nice.
Nice.
It's like a 3.5 hour journey up and back. Wow, it's one of those hikes, kind of like, have you ever gone up Mount Washington, Michael?
I haven't. I haven't had the chance.
You? So when you hike up Mount Washington, you arrive at a parking lot at the top. It's always a little bit anticlimactic. But I've driven in and hiked up that a few times. Nice. But this is the same thing. You hike up it, but you cross the road a couple of times. That's climbing up to it.
Yep.
So you get a lot of tourists up on the top of that.
Sure.
Interesting.
So we welcome everybody to come along with us next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be delightful.
Yeah.
How was it actually, as far as like leaf peeping goes? Were you starting to see some changing colors, or?
Yeah, on the way home, we kind of saw it on Route 2-ish, and kind of some meandering ways across northern Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah. Get out there and check out those leaves. Yeah.
They've even started changing just around the building as it is. There's a couple really pretty red trees.
Nice.
Magnus and I took a little walk yesterday morning, a prayer walk around the building, and we were just sort of blown away by how these stark red trees always seem to be completely on their own, just like a bright red highlighter in the middle of stuff right at the start of fall.
Yeah.
But I could talk about leaves
you
forever.
Could, because you can't get content like this anymore.
No, this is why people tune in.
We can talk about leaves all day long.
Yeah, it's either leaves or movie quotes.
Yeah.
Salt, light, and arboreal interests.
That's
right. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's I was talking recently, probably off the podcast, but I feel like, because we just kind of got through the season of child rearing, where
you're all done now.
Well, no,
trust me,
it's not done.
They're about ready to move out.
But I'd say like when Cal was probably like under 3, you kind of are like home locked a lot of the time. Some parents are more adventurous than others with their little ones.
And you've said you're a more cautious parent.
Jordan and I are more uptight, cautious parents. And so it's felt I used to love going camping and doing a lot of stuff outdoors. And I felt, though no one told me I couldn't do it, I just hadn't really done it. So I feel like I've not really experienced the outdoors that much. But now it's like gone full 180 the other way, where Cal loves the outdoors. Like all he wants to do is like go down to the river or the pond and flip rocks and look for creatures. We go creature hunting. Like
you should bring over to my house for a flying squirrel safari in the living room.
In the living room. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Cheap entertainment at least.
Yeah, but he has no fear of like, he's really into like snakes and reptiles right now.
Is Jordan excited about that?
She's very good about it. She's really understanding. We bought him a leopard gecko for his birthday, so we have a gecko at our house.
Where do you get a leopard gecko?
We got him at Petco.
Now, do they talk like the fella on the commercial?
Not yet. No? Okay. Not yet. It's,
If you start seeing him replacing your insurance plans, you
That's
may
right.
want to look out.
Yeah, I'll go as Jake is from State Farm, and he can be the gecko. Yeah, but it's nice. It's like cheap entertainment. Like this past, what was it, one of the days, I just brought him over. I forget that the Saco River just all around like where we are. So there's all these parks where you can just like boat launches, and so we just like went down to the boat launch and then walked along like the shore. And he could do that. He'd prefer that, I think, over like Funtown. Which is fun.
So where's the boat launch near your house? Again, this is high content.
People,
I want to know.
People are loving this.
I want to take my kayak out there.
There's one probably like 6 or 7 minutes from us.
Yeah.
It's called Diamond Riverside Park.
Okay.
So it's just on the border. There's like 3 parks right on the border of Saco and Biddeford.
Yeah.
Like right there by the mill. And kind of on either side.
Oh, so it's right there.
Yep.
So
there's one on the Saco
I got to
side.
go over the mill or something like that, or
you don't have to if you're on the Saco coming from like Buxton Saco side.
Yeah.
It's right before like there's like a Shaw's there, and before you turn before that.
So I go upstream first anyhow, so I can do above the falls.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Excellent.
Sounds like a great way to spend an afternoon.
Yeah, it was good. Yep.
So I was having a good chat with you just before this.
Yeah.
We were talking about all sorts of things. Talking about I don't know which event we want to talk about. Let's talk about revival for a moment. Can we do that one?
Light, easy topic to sink
Well,
into.
Well, so here's what we're kind of chatting about, and we're not
Kurt's
trying
to rain on a lot of people's parade.
No, I'm not trying to be a contrarian at all. But there is so first of all, revival is a good thing, and I think we both agreed on that. Just the more people that know Jesus even better is always a good thing.
Net positive.
Yes. The
infatuation.
The difficulty comes when the idea of revival eclipses the idea of Jesus and the idea of knowing him even better. And from a biblical standpoint, we see some examples of revival, but they were really never instigated by human factors. God always made the choice to be drawn, to have people drawn to him. And so sometimes it seems like, well, here would be my what I'll offer, that if we spent the same amount of time, brain time, getting in the presence of Jesus as we do wanting to see revival or read about it, we would end up having our own personal revivals.
We'd be experiencing that today.
Yeah, we would. What do you think about that? So, Michael, actually, this would be interesting because tell us just briefly maybe about your Jesus experiences, because it's fairly fresh.
It is, yeah. I've actually been a follower of Christ only since about February, exposed to the faith when I was young, but I wasn't raised in it, so it never really had a chance to sort of take hold in me. I never really processed it or thought deeply about it. I just thought that the people playing drums on stage looked really cool. Over the last couple months, God surprised me in so many ways. I've been blessed to be freed from addiction when it came to smoking and drinking. My depression has pretty much all fallen by the wayside. When you talk about personal revival, I really like to say that Christ kind of gifted me with one of my own. In many ways, I was kind of dead in my sin for a number of years, feeling really listless, kind of hopeless, not a lot of direction. And I've just witnessed an incredible change in the last half year or so, where it really does feel like he's told me to kind of come out in a loud voice and ordered that my grave clothes be stripped away. So I can really connect a lot with what you're saying about personal revival and just sort of how that can end up leading to a revival of sorts on its own just by leaning into Jesus.
That's right. We can be that attractional example for people.
Absolutely, yeah. He calls us to be salt and light in the darkness for others.
What's been, so in this short amount of time, what's been challenging for you in this pursuit of Jesus?
Challenging for me in the pursuit of Jesus. Well, I think the hard thing is making it constant. It's very easy to, at least it was in the first few months, very easy to take your faith and put it in this very nice little box that you open up when you want to. The thing about God is that he's more available to us than we could ever possibly seek him, despite all of our efforts. So as a new Christian, especially someone who didn't have to struggle and fight through addiction, praise God, he kind of removed those battles for me. The hard thing for me was learning that the presence of God and the presence of Jesus and walking with Jesus is something that can be done every single day, ideally all the time. Instead, I found myself sort of compartmentalizing my faith and speaking about it maybe when I felt drawn to or when it was convenient or when I heard a really nice worship song that I liked or I was inspired, as opposed to walking with Jesus each and every day, talking to him while I'm in traffic or thinking about God and what he calls us to do when I'm waiting in a long line at a fast food store, for instance. Just trying to maintain that peace and walk with it was something that I really struggled with for months at the start. And it's a lifelong battle, but it's something that at least recently has been becoming easier and easier as I realized just how much, not only how much he will walk with us, but how much he truly desires it. it's kind of like you were saying, and I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here.
It is not really possible here.
Well, it's kind of like you were saying to me just yesterday, how much he just desires to be with us more than anything else. So really thinking on that and praying on that and meditating on that in a way has helped me to make Jesus more a part of my everyday life. I'd say that was the first initial hurdle, even as I came in feeling so encouraged and excited about faith, was really making it an everyday thing, not going home from church and then deciding, all right, well, that's enough reading for today, but really making it a lifestyle. And that's where I've seen a lot of change.
If you'd believe it, I had an analogy come to mind.
I want to hear it. Yeah.
Only one?
Yeah, only one for now. I just, as you were talking about that, I thought of like a dad out like on a dock fishing with his son, and like the dichotomy between like, if the dad was like, no, I want to be with you, so like, let's go fishing. I want to take you fishing and we would know that you would take your kid out to go fishing to spend time with him, not because like you have a quota of casts or fish to get whatever.
Yeah.
And you would imagine that if like one child like really just wanted to be and enjoy the time spent, how like heartwarming that would be, and what a wonderful time it would be, versus if another kid was like, how many casts do I have to cast before you let me leave? And like, what would you say? What would you, like, okay, if you can cast 20 times, then you can go home.
Be a little disappointing. Yeah.
It'd be very disappointing. And how
definitely.
it would be like both instances, the kids went fishing with their dad, but like the heart changed, the connection, the intimacy was wildly different. And how that's often what we do. We're like, all right, Jesus, how many casts do I have to do before you let me go do what I want to do? And how just horribly disappointing that would be as a father.
In my childhood, going to church, so let's say 6th, 7th, well, up through almost senior year, it would end, the service would end, and we'd all be in the car, including my dad, just wanting to get home, got to watch the Vikings game, and it was all just, here, I put in my time that someone made me do, and now I'm going to go home. Yeah, no, I'm sure he wasn't pleased. It wasn't something that excited him. I just thank you, just like what happened with Michael, just that his grace would sovereignly come down, and like he did for me at about age 30, and he just did for you a few months ago, because you didn't sit down and figure this out. You didn't say, all right, here's all of my data. What it shows me is I'm going to now follow Jesus.
Oh, no. And I tried to do that for quite a long time. And I think many people can relate to this when I say that any data you try to gather on your own outside of following Christ when it comes to where you're supposed to be or what your purpose is, a lot of that data comes up inconclusive. That can be pretty frustrating. It's been a great relief to know that not only does someone have the data that I'm looking for in Christ, but also that the answer's been there the entire time. It's like an answer key to the entire quiz of life, really. Where am I supposed to be? Ask God. He's got a pretty good idea. What am I supposed to be doing? Ask God. Odds are he's got a pretty good idea.
Yeah. Were you telling me about no, maybe it was Graham that was telling me about, there was like an atheist content creator that was like just recently, just as like a social experiment, I guess. He is an atheist, so he doesn't believe in God, but he decided that he was going to like live by biblical principles just for like a month. And he like came back and he made this video, and he's like, guys, I got to say, like, my life's been really good. the last month, he's like, just all this, he's like, even apart from,
So what look like? Like what biblical principles would he do? Like
I would assume it would be like
stop swearing, or
it'd be like giving to others, being less selfish, less prideful, probably looking at like Proverbs type stuff. I didn't watch the video. Graham was telling me about it. But we talked last week even about how there's such a freedom in like having truth be apart from you. Like you don't have to determine it and figure it out, because that's like so exhausting to like, if you were trying to constantly evaluate the world and societies and cultures and trying to like determine what truth is and what is good and what's bad. That would be so exhausting, and just like giving it over to God is such a freeing, nice thing. But
so it's kind of interesting. It's like even though he wasn't all in, and who's to say God didn't even give him the idea to do that,
and the grace, because we know even living like biblical principles wouldn't make you happy. It's God,
but it's like getting closer to the sun, so you start to feel singed by it,
exactly,
and so you're impacted by it. And he probably didn't even know what was going on. Just like he says, I got to tell you this, which is kind of funny because it's very much an outside in thing rather than inside out. But but God will.
It's almost a little backwards.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But God will do whatever He desires to do to draw somebody to Him, and that's that whole. When Jesus talks about the Spirit, it says those who are born of the Spirit are like the wind. You hear the sound, you don't know where it's coming from or where it's going, and that's why we don't try to figure out what God is doing, even from a biblical standpoint, but we get to have His Spirit bear witness to our spirit. And so it might change from that. It'll always align with the biblical standpoint. Right. It's never going to be contradictory to it, but we, just like Jesus says, the whole of Scripture was testifying about Him, and that's where we have to put that place. So since that's pointing to Him, and now we have He is the destination, we get to hold hands with the Spirit.
Right, and I'd say that's even like when I say living by biblical principles. If we're to like look at all of like the wisdom in Proverbs, or even like the old laws, and then the new laws that Jesus talks about, all of them. Really, the point of them is things that would pull you away from Jesus. Like following the rules is not, if somebody followed all the rules but didn't have a relationship with Jesus, it'd be pointless. It'd be just legalism. And so we see that didn't work for Paul. That certainly wouldn't work for any of us.
Well, it didn't work for this atheist as well, in that he still got a long ways to go.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But it opened up his eyes a little bit.
No, I think that's fascinating. Yeah.
Well, I mean, God must have been with him throughout that process, honestly, because there's plenty of very faithful people who would struggle to live by biblical principles, myself included. To do that of his own accord and own power would be more surprising than to say that God drew him to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of Christians. And I'm hesitant to even like bring up like because of all that happened afterwards. But Ravi Zacharias used to, which apart from all the horrible things, something that I remember people quoting him on was that with many of his friends and family, he would urge them to test God in a good way. That he would say that a lot of people are seeking or have questions, and he would say like, well, bring those before God and see how God moves in your life when you approach Him, when you give Him an opportunity to, because we like harden our people harden their hearts and reject God openly and actively. And so if you were not certain of His existence or of His goodness, but you were to kind of give Him an opportunity to prove Himself, how He said God would show up and like move in your life and stuff. But which I'm like, I don't know that that's great advice, but there's certainly validity to it in some.
That's one of the
extent.
So if I'm out in the street, so even today we're going to go out in the afternoon.
Looking forward to that.
And I as well. And earlier on in the day, back in the day, I would talk to somebody, kind of give them the gospel and what it was, and then almost get into this persuasion time of having them pray with me.
Right.
And I don't do that anymore because it's all up to Him anyhow. But what I will say to people to this point is, hey, when you go to bed tonight, and just before you go and shut off the lights, or right after you shut off the lights, just if you don't even know that God exists, just speak to Him as though He does, and said, hey, if that weird dude that was talking to me today has any truth in it at all, you show that to me.
Right.
And I just challenge them to do that.
And that's it. That's what I'm talking
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know if that's quote unquote testing God. Like I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think it's an open invitation to say, I'm open to you.
Right.
And as opposed to the young kid who's wants to do his 20 casts and get out of there.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's a willingness, and he so appreciates the heart on that.
I think so. Yeah. But circling back to revivals, because this is the conversation that we had
how it started. Yeah.
About we were talking about how there's seemingly a cultural, especially Christian culture, desire and obsession with a revival happening, and that it's almost like we're looking to that to be the solution. So there's a lot of people gathering and collecting. Maybe a big crowd would cause a revival, but I think a lot of that's emotionalism. But we were talking about it, and I was saying how I find it very interesting what's at the root of that. And I think, as I said to Kurt earlier, I was like, I'm pretty convinced that a lot of the desire, because you see a lot of it in our culture now, where there's a desire that Christianity would rise to the top, or that it would become the religion of our country or something like that. And one, that's not biblical at all. But two, I think what I'm seeing at the root of it is that Christians desire that it would become the norm, that Christianity would become the norm, so that there would be a comfort and a safety in not being on the out, that you would, if the majority of people were Christian, then you wouldn't have to worry about persecution, or you wouldn't have to be a minority. You wouldn't be a minority. And there's a fear there and a desire for control and safety that I think is really unhealthy. And I believe that's what's driving not all of the desire for revival. I think there's people who authentically want God to show up in a supernatural way,
but there's elements of that you're talking about that are absolutely true. And what's interesting is everything Jesus said was antithetical to all of that.
Yeah.
That it's it's going to be hard. There's not going to be many of you. It's a narrow road, narrow gate. And by the way, I'm the only way.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's very chock full of exclusivity, to the point. End of John 15. We're going to be talking about. It says, because if they hated me, they're going to hate you. I mean, what how does that go along with what you're talking about with revival? Are people so if we're taking him at his word, are we saying I want revival so I can be hated more?
Yeah, because I don't think that's the mentality you're getting.
Probably not what's going on.
Brighter lights cast darker shadows.
There you go. Look at that. He's got a million of them. So, in your own personal revival, then, Michael, what do you look forward to?
Yeah,
you talked about being with him on a daily basis. What would be more understanding that you'd like to have?
Yeah, what I really look forward to, it's kind of echoed. I just kind of riffed on this in my personal life earlier, but I still find a lot of peace and purpose, especially when used in intentionality with worship music. I was listening to this awesome song called I Surrender on the way in today. And this big refrain in it is just, I surrender, I want to know you more. And I guess that's really what I'm pursuing now, is just a surrendering of things on a daily basis in order to be more in line and in accordance with God's will, that he might use me. And I mean, that's really kind of the core of my desire right now in this personal revival is, God, as you draw me further into your kingdom, as you call me near to your side, as you ask me to go fishing, that I wouldn't use a $20, let's just lean into that analogy, like a $20 Barbie rod in the opposite direction and get everything stuck in the trees. I'd pray that I would give up on my preference for a $20 Barbie or Transformers fishing rod and instead use a bait caster and tangle the line a couple times, sit with you while you teach me how to fix that reel, and then have you hold my hand as we cast it out into the same spot together. So I guess that's kind of what I'm looking for out of this personal revival of mine, as God's kind of called me out, and he's been gracious enough and willing enough to show me, at least to the furthest root of my belief, where I'm supposed to be and what it is that I should be doing, which is working in outreach to help to reach the lost, to be a beacon for people, not only for the kind of firmament of faith, but for the encouragement of faith. It's really just, all right, God, now show me how you want me to do it, and keep me in this place of humble surrender, so that I just keep doing it that way, and that I don't make it about me, and that I don't make it about the transformer fishing rod, So that's kind of where I'm at now, is just trying to stay totally surrendered to him. And, when we talk about sanctification, it's almost... everyone battles with sin, right? Yeah. We always will. We're fallen.
Define sanctification for us.
Oh, sanctification. It's become one of my favorite words. My understanding of it, at least in the process that I've been walking, and I'd love to hear you expand on it, is that sanctification is the process of God highlighting things in our lives that are separating us from him or making it more difficult to do his will, and to kind of, like you were saying earlier, live that biblical lifestyle in accordance with what he wants for us, with what we were made for. Graham has it in this really cool analogy where it's like, if the Holy Spirit, right, which is supposed to fill us, well up out of us in springs of living water and flow into the lives of other people, is this babbling brook inside of us, then oftentimes it may be reduced to this tiny little stream of water, and we've got these huge rocks in the way. The rocks are me trying to do it my way. The rocks are old habits. The rocks might be old wounds, people we haven't forgiven. And my understanding of sanctification is that as we pull those rocks out of the way, that water can flow a little more, and a little more, and a little more. So talking about sanctification, it's easier in a way to say, Lord, I surrender this sin to you. I surrender my pride. I surrender my envy. I surrender my lust, or, I surrender gluttony and indulgence. It's harder to say, Lord, I surrender my plans for the day. Totally surprise me with what you have in store. Lord, I surrender my wife to you. I want to control and shepherd her, but instead teach me to be a good steward and simply do in her life what you would will, and just let me watch that and be amazed by it and support it in the way that you call me to do it. So that's kind of where I'm at next, is learning these things that God's trying to highlight for me. Again, like Graham says, clearly his presence is sorely missed today. How God might highlight things where we're looking at ourselves in this super bright, way too close up vanity mirror, asking God to help me root them out, to help me kind of walk that path deeper and further with him. And then asking him, all right, Lord, what are you going to fill this up with? Now that I've removed this thing from me, what are you going to fill me with? And, Scripture tells us that it's the Spirit. So that's kind of where I see this walk going, probably over the course of the rest of my life, speaking broadly, but immediately as well.
Yeah. Did you share about like the I don't know, do you call it a smith that's like refining gold or silver or something like that? What's the person that would like?
Yeah, like a goldsmith, you mean?
I think is that the word?
Silversmith, goldsmith, same thing,
yeah. And that was like such a good. We obviously, it's even biblical. It talks about like the refiner's fire and things like that, but there was like something that got passed around or something. I heard about it recently. It was like the goldsmith or silversmith or whatever is like heating up the silver, and so he's watching the impurities come to the top, which is what you're talking about with sanctification. Yes. And then he like
removes
strings them and removes the dross, and then he's really close, and the woman's asking like, what are you looking for? Like, and thinking that he's waiting to see a perfection or a certain chemical thing in the silver. And he said, well, I just have to wait, and I'll know it's ready when I see my reflection. And so when we think about God, we see with God with that, I want to see my image in it, is that it just shows us that it's a replacement thing, that he removes the things that are keeping us from him, not so that he could make us perfect, but that we would just reflect him, which is then in turn perfect. Because I think we've talked about that, especially with like freedom ministry and a lot of things, is a lot of sin habits that people have had or we've had for years and years and years. There's always like these outward tactics to like control the sin habit, and not that those are bad in and of themselves, like accountability and things like that, or a program, whatever. But what we find with those is they often teach us a way of behavior. So it's behavior modification to not sin, which we just see like not a lot of, a lot of like success with that. And then what you find is like when it's replaced, when somebody surrenders their desire to do what they want to do with their life and they just replace it with Jesus and they're spending time with him and intimacy with him, like with your addiction that you talk about, it's like taken from them, but it's not taken from them, removed like from the outside. It's a replacement on the inside. Otherwise we would fall right back into the sin, right?
Absolutely.
Like if you were to like diet and you're like, oh, well, like pizza and burgers are bad for me, so I'm just not going to eat them. And so you just don't eat. All the times that you would have eaten pizza or burgers, you just don't eat. It won't be long before you just eat them again.
Especially if you keep the pizza in your fridge.
That's right. Or you could replace it with something else, and then you're still getting food.
Right. So take that analogy again, and if you don't replace with anything, then you'll just shrivel up and die. And so sinlessness is not relationship.
No.
And so, but what it is the rocks blocking the river. And so we want to remove sin so that we can be face to face with him, because we can't have both going on at the same time.
Absolutely. It almost seems like a way for people to, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, almost seems like a way to try to avoid conviction as opposed to avoid sin. I've been getting into Romans lately, taking a deep dive into it. There was a piece of scripture I came across that was really fascinating to me. It was the law, and I'm somewhat paraphrasing here, it was the law was expanded to increase transgression so that grace would then increase all the more. This is Paul talking to the Roman church and Roman public about the importance of Christ Jesus as opposed to just following the ways of the law. I think that ties really nicely into what we've been speaking about, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well, Kurt.
Yeah, no, well, and Paul's in that point that, as sin increased, grace increased all the more. So he was kind of rebuking those who would say, so then I should just sin more so that God would be glorified because of this amount of his grace. And he said, no, that's not what it means. But we have the law so that we can see our condition, that there are none, was it in Romans 3, that there's nobody pure, not one. I forget what the phrase was that they use.
Yeah, not even one.
And so all of that. So that's interesting. Is that leads up through 7, or even kind of some people say he's talking about himself or whatever. That hey, I want to do the right thing, but sin is always there with me. Yeah. But praise God, there's no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And then you move into that relational side of the Spirit that you were talking about in Romans 8.
Yes.
And apart from the Spirit, we can't even understand that revelation, right? So we come to that point, and again, intellectually, we might think the next thing to do would be, well, the next thing to do is surrender, and we've been talking about that. That's the only thing. But then when he enters into us in that time of surrender, that's the only time we ever have clarity. Yeah, that's when we can have these conversations about who he is rather than what I'm going to stop doing.
Yeah.
And then the judgment of how I'm better than somebody else and it brings humility into it because we realize we couldn't do this on our own.
Yeah,
it's all him.
Which is why I think it's what Jesus was alluding to in like the Sermon on the Mount, where he's like, "You've heard it said," and he goes through all the law and or the commandments, and then he like makes it more difficult to avoid, right? He's like, you've heard it said not to murder, but if you have hate, I say if you have hate in your heart, then you've murdered already, or adultery, and he goes through them all. And I think he was more like making a point there about that the law is there to show us our transgressions so that we can move towards intimacy with Jesus. It's to point us in that direction. And it actually goes even further than that, because I think even if you were to follow the law and then even like I'd call it like a sub layer of the law. So like, okay, now I'm not even lusting after him, and I'm not even having hate in my heart. I'm not even being greedy over what my neighbor has, any of those. I think even if you were following those, you're still not there. Like it like keeps going. And he's just saying like, no. The point of it is all to point to intimacy with him. Like just stop focusing on, and this is where it's like a cart and horse thing, is like what Paul was saying is like, it's not, you're not trying to do all the right things to have good standing with God, but also your intimacy and relationship with Jesus, because there's no condemnation. It doesn't give us leeway to then go back to the sin. It's that because we've been given that grace and mercy, we want to walk in that with him and enjoy the freedom and beauty that is. But I think it's not even like that. Doesn't even, I think if Jesus were to keep talking, it would be even more nuanced and more nuanced of like what the sin is that keeps us from him. You know what I mean?
And he wasn't winging it through that. So he says, I've come not to come to abolish the law, but fulfill it. And that terminology, as a rabbi who had authority that everybody recognized he had, it was fulfillment of the law was correct interpretation of it. So he was actually showing them, no, this is really what this is all about. And by the way, you're not going to make it.
Right.
And then he tells us, well, two main parts in that sermon, I think, are seek first my kingdom and my righteousness, that closeness with me, and then all these other things will be added. So we will indeed fulfill it then, fulfill that interpretation. And then he goes on with that stark warning in Matthew 7, where these people who were doing prophecies and miracles, all these cool things in his name, and he says, "Get away from me, I never knew you." And then he says, "Hey, unless you build your house on the rock," which is either the gospel or himself, you're just going to get crushed. And so everything moves through that toward dependency on him.
Well, and I think that's like the illumination that is for like the story of the rich young ruler. Is for a long time I didn't really understand it, because it like Jesus asks him, you know the law, and then he says, all these things I've kept since I was a boy, and Jesus doesn't correct him and say, no, you haven't. He says, he looks at him with love, and he says, all you have but one more, go and sell your things and follow me. And I remember like thinking, but it's not a sin to have. And like it was like, oh well, I missed it, because it was all about dependency. It was all about, no, it's not just making sure that there's no sin. It's that you would have relationship. And then the law is to show us that we need that relationship.
It was interesting, just as you're saying that. So in Psalm 139, David at the end of it says, "Search my heart and show me what's going on in there."
Right.
Yes.
And because David asks that because he doesn't know. There's things that are hidden with us. So this rich young ruler didn't know.
Right.
And Jesus pointed out the sin that was in him by, all right, go ahead and give this away. Oh, you can't?
Yeah.
and so he walks away.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's the. When we talk about, we were talking about humility before this. We don't have time to go into it now, but that's just such a linchpin to our moving into a deeper relationship with him, to be able to say, you search me and show me what's up, and I'm going to accept what you give me, not the checklist that I believe I've accomplished up to this point in time, because I've not done this, and I have done this, and I have done this. But then all of a sudden he shows you this new thing, and we got to say, all right, thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Well, and you asked Michael what's he find difficult about following Jesus? And as he was answering it, I was thinking about myself, and there's a lie that I believe that I find is like my biggest stumbling block. And I can usually tie anything that I'm struggling with back to that lie, which is a lie that I know better than God what I need or what would make me happy. And so there's like this, like whether it's feeling like burnt out on the end of the day and I want to like watch a movie or watch a video I get into a new hobby as a form of distraction, or why am I so distracted? All of it is like, no, I'm feeling this way, God, so I need this to feel relaxed, or I need this to feel fulfilled.
You can add that to my list, Kurt. By the way.
That I find that wrestling with that lie, which is not surrender, that's the opposite of surrender. It's that control. It's not humility. That prayer of search me, Lord, that's a scary prayer, because it's like, oh, I know he's going to find some stuff because I feel it. And it's that, I think, that I struggle with the most. I think it's like the most difficult thing.
Well, I won't go into details of it, but I was talking to you beforehand that I sent out this little phrase to a few of you from Thomas à Kempis, who was this dude back in the 1300s, and it was about humility and how important that was. And I was just really enjoying Jesus showing me that. And as I was sending it to you, I saw a prior text that that challenged my humility a lot from a standpoint of just past experiences. And so the turning point for me was not even the conviction that my humility wasn't there, was how awesome it was that he showed me that. That he's paying attention to me every moment, the more that we allow him to pay attention. And that sounds like what you were saying, Michael, about how you want to walk with him, is just be so sensitive to him. I look at these three things I've been asking him for. I want more awareness, and then I want more frequency, and then I want more capacity to take it in. And really, you described that when you did that. But I think we got to go.
We got to go. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. There it is.
Thanks for welcoming Michael.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
Yeah. He'll go home and watch himself with the family on YouTube now. And so God bless you all, and stay low.